Good morning. So we're going to have the first in many videos on R, because R is our trickiest sound. It is the latest developing sound, and there's a reason why. Because we're going to start with how many types of R's there are. Different types of R's. R is R. R's are not equal. There are a variety of R's, and there's sort of a hierarchy of what is easier and more difficult. There is R at the beginning of the words. First of all, there's 10. So there's R at the beginning of the word, like rat and rainbow and rain. Then there are R in the middle of the word, R medial, which means the R starts on the second syllable. Carrot, pirate. There's R blends, like crab, princess, crown, brown. Then we have the vocalic R's. So we have 6 of those. We have air, like stare, chair. Then we have R, A-R, like far, star, mar. Then we have This can be spelled in a couple different ways, typically E-R or U-R, like fur and teacher. Then we have ear, like fear or steer. Then we have O-R, or, like door, store. And we have ire, like fire, tire. And then we have the RL, which is typically the most difficult. So words like girl or pearl or world, because the R and L together, they influence each other. Just like the vowels together, we call those vocalic R's. They influence the R, and the R influences the vowel to make them trickier. So, and another tricky part of that is there's 10 of them. You might say your R's just a little bit different for each one. So it's not an across the board, you know how to say the by itself, and you can put them in any one of those words. It gets a little tricky. We have to be able to put the vowels with the R, we have to put the L with the R. Excuse me. And then we can't see it. There's 10 different kinds, and there are 2 different kinds of pulling back of the tongue. So the tongue gets pulled in the back. Excuse me. We have a retracted or a bunched R. So retracted means the tongue tip goes up, like that. You're gonna see a lot of my mouth, I apologize. And the retracted the bunch, just means it's bunched up in the back. You might do both of these for a variety of R's. I know I do both of them. So it'll be fun for your family to see what their R's are when they do them. Because when I started working on R, I was like, oh, that's what I do. Got interesting. So I want you to sit and think for a minute and say, Now I open my mouth, when I say it. Some people might say, Again, it's going to be different for every single person. So I really want you to think about what we have to do with our tongue. There's 3, maybe 4 things we have to do. So, depending on if you do the bunched or the retracted R, you are going to have to pull your tongue into the back. So if you think about it, our tongue is rooted in the back of our throat. It's a great big muscle. We have the ability to move it in a bunch of different ways. So, the back of the tongue goes into the back. The tongue tip is either going to pull back or lift up. Now the sides of the tongue are going to touch those big fat back molars on the top. They're going to make a connection back there. I apologize. This is a lot. No wonder my kids look at me like I'm crazy in therapy. So your tongue's going to pull back at the same time that the sides are going to touch back there on the top molars. The middle of your tongue is going to look like a canoe. It's going to have kind of a dip in it. And it has to get pulled back and have tension. So if you think about a hair tie, it's not tense. When I say it's not tense. When I say our tongue has to get tense. So the tongue's gonna just kind of be hanging out, and then we gotta make it really tight. Just like if I said, show me your muscles, and you try to make your biceps curl, right? You gotta tense that muscle to show the muscle. So we gotta show the tongue who's boss and move it in our direction. So there's a couple different techniques you can use, for R to try to do the actual movement, not even worrying about the sound, the movement. So one big thing you can do is to have your kids be very patient with me. If you go in a mirror and open your mouth as wide as you can, Stanley, no, apologize. My dog likes to bark at things. If you go, R, and see what your tongue is doing. Even if it's an they're going to be able to hear and see that their tongue is not going up like it needs to. Excuse me. And another technique that's a little simpler, but it might not always work, is if you have the L, if your kiddo has the L, they can take the L and magically transform it into the R. They just take their tongue, O, and drag it all the way into the back. Over. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Chances are, if you're getting this video, I've tried this with your kiddo. It's going to take a lot on them to sort of practice where their tongue is going, how much tension it needs, because common mistakes for R are W, like wat for rat, and a vowel, like cow for car. They're just not getting it tense enough. And I'm gonna make another video, for the speech motor training that I sent home with some of your kiddos. Different ways to build up on what they have and to keep practicing. Something I was able to do with them before school closed, and before there was a change in the internet and it blocked me from doing it. But there was a clinical, some college had, I went to a conference about speech motor training, and they also had auditory training. So they listened to ours and decide if it's correct or not. Because they found that when students listen to their teachers try to do it, they can tell when I'm trying to say cow versus car. It's easier for them to pick up on. But if they listen to a variety of other students with pre-recorded messages, they're able to pick up on it easier. But it was a website that I was able to click on, and they would just click right or not right, and they would have to listen. And that would encourage them to listen to themselves, whether they're saying it correctly or not. I'm going to stop this video because it's getting pretty long. I hope this has been some helpful information, and I will keep making more R videos and sending them to you. I'll probably make another one today.